Hello students, so today we are going to learn the second part of the chapter 4, molecular basis of inheritance. In this particular part of the chapter, we are going to learn DNA replication, semi-conservative replication and experimental confirmation. You can see in the present slide the animation images. As I always add related to the topic. So the lower half we can see scientists trying to identify the DNA or the gene, and the second half you can see how the semi-conservative replication takes place. Now DNA initially, which is by the activation of nucleotides, followed by point of origin or initiation point where the cut is made, then unwinding of the DNA molecule, then replicating fork, followed by synthesis of new strand, which you can see here how the synthesis is made with the help of DNA polymerase by DNA ligase, how the new strand is being formed. So we'll go into the detail in the further slide. Now here we can see James Watson and Francis Crick, the DNA structure, how they imagined at that point of time when they were learning about the DNA model. So here, with the help of the resources, the metals or materials which they had, they made an artificial model. And later on we can see how the actual model was, which they had thought about at that point of time. So here you can see the DNA structure with the sugar phosphate backbone, the size 0.34 nanometer, 34 nanometer, that is the coiling part, and you can see here phosphorus, carbon in sugar phosphate backbone, hydrogen, oxygen and the bases. Now moving further, again I put some more animation image. You can see in the first one, you can see how the DNA replication takes place by unwinding of the DNA molecule. In the second part, you can see how the nucleotide sequence are formed, or the from the pool the different nitrogenous bases join to form the other half of the replicating fork. So leading and lagging strand being formed. Further, we start with the initial part of DNA replication. Now, first point, the DNA molecules regulates and controls all the activities of the cell, right? Further, at the same time, when the cell reproduces, the DNA also should duplicate, means make a copy of itself to distribute equally to the daughter cells. So as you saw in the initial few animation slides where the DNA gets separated and the new daughter cells being formed. As a carrier of genetic information, DNA has to perform two important functions. So, two important functions. One, the heterocatalytic function, that is when DNA directs the synthesis of chemical molecules other than itself, then such function of DNA are called heterocatalytic function. So as mentioned, the synthesis of chemical molecules other than itself. So the functions of DNA which is carried out, which is called the heterocatalytic function. Here best example being synthesis of DNA by transcription and synthesis of protein by translation. So you can see just an animation, simple animation showing the DNA structure and how the strands are being formed. The second is autocatalytic function. Here, when DNA directs the synthesis of DNA itself, then such function of DNA is called autocatalytic function. Example, the replication. So the replication which takes place is by autocatalytic function, or as we learned earlier, heterocatalytic, where the transcription takes place. Further, the process by which DNA duplicates itself is called replication. Means the copy which is formed, or the other half, the daughter cells which is formed, is the replication process. through replication, it forms two copies that are identical to it. In eukaryotic organism, replication of DNA takes place only once in the cell cycle. Further, it occurs in the S phase of interphase in the cell cycle. So it takes place during the S phase of the interphase. Here you can see I added another animation showing the transcription process in the nucleus, because the process is carried out in the nucleus, whereas the translation in the cytoplasm. So here you can see again what we saw in the first animation slide or the introductory slide, that DNA replication taking place where the strand getting unwound and the new strand being formed. So here you can see the translation process now which takes place in the cytoplasm. So in this animation you can see both transcription and translation. So in translation you can see how the methionine, arginine, histidine, threonine, cysteine is forming one after the other, followed by arginine, tryptophan. That is the translation process taking place in the cytoplasm. So the step-by-step process initially which is carried out in the nucleus, that is the process of protein synthesis, transcription. You can again see here how the DNA structure is unwound or unzipped, you can say, and simultaneously the particular nitrogenous base is being formed, as you know, ATGC pattern. So here the unwound part is again joined by the nucleotide bases which is present in the pool, which is joined, and this takes place in the nucleus, and then the mRNA which is formed, which is moved into the cytoplasm. So here you can see the translation tRNA brings amino acids and the peptide bond formation takes place in the cytoplasm. So again you can see step by step how the peptide bond is formed very clearly. So this animation itself explains us both the transcription and translation process very clearly. So peptide rolls into a small ball-like structure. Further, going into a little bit more detail about the DNA replication. So here you can see again already the DNA which is unwound or unzipped. You can see a topoisomerase. Then you can see other labeling part, the DNA primase, DNA primer, DNA ligase. Now here you can use simple terms, that is like DNA ligase acts like a gum in joining the nitrogenous bases. DNA polymerase, then the lagging strand over here, whereas here the leading strand. Then the DNA polymerase over here, the helicase, single strand binding protein. So if you just go through the points here, the first step in DNA replication is to separate the strands of DNA using helicase. So here the helicase you can see which helps to separate the strand. So you can say it acts like a scissors to cut open the DNA strand. Further, then DNA primase comes in to create a RNA primer, which you can see over here. Then the DNA polymerase comes in and synthesizes the new strand of DNA. So here you can see the synthesis being taken place by the DNA polymerase. You can see in both these strands the DNA polymerase helps to synthesize. Further, single strand binding proteins make sure that two strands do not come back together. So here the binding proteins which are present does not allow this strand to come back together. Further, topoisomerase helps relieve the tension created by unwinding the DNA. So here you can see the topoisomerase which is present does not allow and relieves the tension which is created when it gets unwound. Finally, DNA ligase sticks the Okazaki fragments together in the lagging strand. So here you can see the Okazaki fragments which are formed, that is in the lagging strand, which comes together forming the daughter cells. Moving further, here I kept another animation image which you can see very clearly the 3' and unwound DNA leading strand, lagging strand, the DNA helicase which cuts the strand which gets unwound. So DNA polymerase simultaneously helps in joining part. Then we can see the RNA primer, the DNA polymerase 3. Further, we can see how it gets further unwinding of the DNA. Again, DNA polymerase, the RNA primer, the DNA polymerase 3. Then again, here it gets unwound, that is by DNA helicase. So here DNA helicase acts as a scissor to cut open. Further, the DNA ligase helps in joining. So each has a specific role to perform. Clear? So again, this animation image is very clear to help us to understand the process. So here you can see DNA ligase helps in joining or forming the second strand. So leading and lagging strand both are formed the 3' 5' end. Okay. Now moving further to learn in detail about the semi-conservative replication of DNA. The model for semi-conservative replication was proposed by Watson and Crick, as you saw in the second slide, on the basis of anti-parallel and complementary nature of DNA strands. The process of semi-conservative replication is as below. So we have got steps. The first one, activation of nucleotide. So here the nucleotides gets activated. The 4 types of nucleotide of DNA, that is DAMP, DGMP, TCMP and DTMP, or as we learned, the adenosine, guanosine, cytosine and thymine are present in the nucleoplasm. They are activated by ATP in the presence of an enzyme phosphorylase. So they get activated by the enzyme phosphorylase. This results in the formation of deoxyribonucleic acid or nucleotide triphosphate, that is DATP, DGTP, DCTP and DTTP. So as we just read, DAMP, DGMP, DCMP, DTMP, here further formation of DATP. So deoxyribonucleic triphosphate is formed from here. DAMP, which was deoxyribonucleotide monophosphate. The process is known as phosphorylation. So you can see in simple words the DAMP forming DATP or DGMP forming DGTP or DCMP forming DCTP and DTMP forming DTTP, that is termed as phosphorylation. Here again you can see the animation slides where the ATGC pattern is formed. So the DNA structure, when you go into the detailed structure of it, the double bond, triple bond which is formed. So the AT or TA forms a double bond, whereas the CG or GC forms the triple bond. That is adenine thymine is always double bonded, whereas cytosine and guanine triple bond. Moving to the second point, that is point of origin or initiation point, where it begins with. So it begins at a specific point O, which is the origin, and terminates at a point T. So the starting point being O, the ending point being T. Origin is flanked by T sites. The unit of DNA in which replication occurs is called replicon. In prokaryotes, there is only one replicon. However, in eukaryotes, there are several replicons in tandem. So here we can see the replicon, which is the unit of DNA which replication occurs, and in case of prokaryotes, there is only one replicon present, and there are several replicons, they are present in tandem. Further, at point O, enzyme endonuclease nicks one of the strands of DNA temporarily. Means the nick which is provided or cut which is provided is temporary. The nick occurs in the sugar phosphate backbone or the phosphodiester bond. Now, third point is what? Unwinding of DNA molecule. Now the enzyme DNA helicase operates by breaking weak hydrogen bonds in the vicinity of O. That is, at the starting point, the enzyme DNA helicase operates by breaking the weak hydrogen bonds, which, as we just saw in the previous animation slide, the double bond and the triple bond joining ATGC pattern. The strands of DNA separate and unwind. This unwinding is bidirectional and continuous, means the process is continuous, and Y-shaped replicon fork. As I mentioned, the DNA replication takes place by cutting at one point and it keeps on opening up, or as I use the term, unzipping. Each separated strand acts as a template. So once it opens up the Y-shaped structure where there are two strands on either side, so it acts as a template, or in simple words, the copy. The two separated strands are prevented from recoiling by SSBP, that is single stranded binding protein. So this is prevented, that is again the recoiling is prevented by the single strand binding proteins. So SSB proteins remain attached to both the separated strands so as to facilitate synthesis of new polynucleotide strands. So this protein prevents it again from binding, and also it helps in the synthesis of new strand being formed. Next, the replicating fork. So the point formed due to unwinding and separation of two strands appear like Y-shaped fork called replicating fork. So here, as we learned earlier, the Y-shaped fork or the unzipped part acts as a replicating fork. The unwinding of strands imposes strain which is relieved by superhelix relaxing enzyme. So here the strands which are separated or unwound, they are always under strain. And this strain or this stress is relieved by the enzyme, so that is otherwise superhelix relaxing enzyme. Further, the synthesis of new strands takes place. So each separated strand acts as a mold or template, or as I mentioned, a copy to make the other strand or to synthesize new complementary strand. It begins with the help of a small RNA molecule called RNA primer. So here the synthesis begins with the small RNA molecule, which is none other than the RNA primer. So the RNA primer gets associated with the 3' end of the template strand and attracts complementary nucleotides from the surrounding nucleoplasm. So from the nucleoplasm, or as I use the term pool, the complementary nucleotides are attracted, which helps to synthesize the new strand. So these nucleotide molecules bind to the complementary nucleotides on the template strand by forming hydrogen bonds. As I mentioned, the ATGC pattern, it can be either AT or TA or GC or CG, and AT or TA always you can see it is a double bond, whereas GC it is a triple bond or CG. The newly bound nucleotides gets interconnected by phosphodiester bonds, forming a polynucleotide strand. The synthesis of new complementary strand is catalyzed by enzyme DNA polymerase. So as we saw in the animation part, the DNA polymerase helps in the formation of the new complementary strand and helps as a catalytic part enzyme. Or what is meant by catalyze? So as we know in chemistry, the catalytic process which helps to increase the rate of reaction. So this synthesis of complementary strand is done by the enzyme DNA polymerase or catalyzed by the DNA polymerase. So the new complementary strand is always formed in the 5' 3' direction. Further, the sixth point or the stage, that is the lagging and the leading strand. So again I put one very good animation part where you can see automatically, as we can see, the DNA which is unwound or unzipped at the ATGC pattern from the pool, complementary nucleotide is joining to it, forming the new strand. So you can see here the Y-shaped structure where from the pool the ATGC nucleotides are joining to it to form the complementary strand, forming the leading and the lagging strand. So here you can see the template strand with free 3' end is called leading template, and with 5' end is the lagging template. The process of replication always starts at the C3 end of template strand, and the process of proceed towards the 5' end, that is C5 end, as both the strands of the parental DNA are anti-parallel. New strands are always formed in the 5', 3' direction. So because the DNA strand or the parental strand is anti-parallel, it is opposite, so the new strands are always formed in the 5', 3' direction. One of the newly synthesized strand develops continuously towards replicating fork is called leading strand. So which one is the leading strand? The newly synthesized strand which continuously formed towards the replicating fork. Another new strand developed discontinuously away from the replicating fork is the lagging strand. So the one which is continuous, that is the leading strand. One which is discontinuous in the replicating fork is the lagging strand. Now further, maturation of the Okazaki fragments. Now here as we read, the leading and the lagging strand. So lagging strand which is discontinuous, or we can say the Okazaki fragment. So the DNA synthesis on the lagging template takes place in the form of small fragments, or in simple words small parts, called Okazaki fragments. Now Okazaki fragments are joined by the DNA ligase. As I use the term for a better understanding of simple words, DNA ligase acts like a gum in joining the strands. The RNA primers are removed by DNA polymerase and replaced by DNA polymerase alpha in the eukaryotes. Finally, DNA gyrase or topoisomerase enzyme forms double helix to form the daughter DNA molecule. As you saw, the DNA isomerase or DNA gyrase topoisomerase enzymes which helps in the formation of the double helix to form the daughter DNA molecule. So again here I put a simple image showing what we saw in the animation earlier: the direction of movement of replication fork, the topoisomerase, the helicase, the DNA B protein, the SSB, again that is the protein, Okazaki fragments which the lagging strand in the 3', 5' direction, RNA primer, the leading strand or the continuous strand as we see the RNA primer. Moving further, formation of daughter DNA molecule. At the end of the replication, two daughter DNA molecules are formed. In each daughter DNA, one strand is parental and the other one is totally newly synthesized. As the name daughter DNA molecule, since one is the old strand, that is from the parent, other is the new strand, that is a daughter DNA molecule. Since 50% is contributed from the mother DNA and 50% is new, so since it is half the older one, half the new one, it is termed as semi-conservative replication. As the term semi, half, so the half part or from the mother DNA is preserved or conserved, it is termed as semi-conservative replication. Again I have put another image for your better understanding. So as you saw from the very first slide animation, various different images and animation which helps to make the concept easier. So here you can see the chromosome, how it is unwound, the original DNA or the template. You can see the coloration which shows the nucleotide or the nitrogenous base pairs adenine, thymine, cytosine and guanine. The replicating fork, the free nucleotides, DNA polymerase, how the new strands are being formed. Here the leading strand and the lagging strand, or we can use the term Okazaki fragments, DNA polymerase. Again you can see the 50% parental DNA and the 50% which is formed by the help of DNA polymerase, which is joining and using the DNA ligase. You can see the complementary strand from the pool is joined here. So you can see a DNA polymerase, original template DNA which is over here, the mother strand or the parental strand, and the new daughter DNA molecule is being formed. Further, again you can see two images, one on the top, second on the bottom, both are animation. You can see how the CG, that is cytosine guanine, which is triple bond, AT, the double bonded, how the bonds are being formed. So unwound DNA strand is again formed joining by the particular nitrogenous bases from the pool. So here pyrophosphate bond or simply the hydrogen bonds are being formed. So the second strand, the one, the parental or the mother strand, and the second one, the new strand, the daughter molecule is formed. So it is very clear how the complementary, so thymine, cytosine, guanine, adenine by different coloration is shown how the base pairs are formed. At the lower part, again the second animation which shows how the DNA is unwound or unzipped, and at the same time the complementary strands are joined. Clear? Now further, now what we learned from the DNA replication to the semi-conservative method, how the experiment confirmation is carried out for the semi-conservative replication, or how it is carried out, or the confirmation experiment. So in newly formed DNA molecule, one strand is old, other strand is newly synthesized. Thus it is called as semi-conservative mode of replication. It is experimentally proved by Matthew Michelson and Franklin Stahl in 1958 by using equilibrium density gradient centrifugation technique. I repeat here, experimentally proved by Matthew Michelson and Franklin Stahl in 1958 how the semi-conservative replication is carried out by equilibrium density gradient centrifugation technique. So here I added an image related to that. So you can see gravitational force by using the nitrogen isotope. Here the DNA, again here generation 1, the isotopes nitrogen 15 and 14 DNA, and here the hybrid ones, and the second generation we can see the 50% parental and 50% new, or the light and the heavy bands which you can see very clearly. Okay, so here the heavy one and the light one, or you can see the hybrid formation, that is which proves itself proves one is the old one is the new, or one is the parental one is the daughter one. Now the points which proves the experimental confirmation. So Michelson and Stahl in 1958 performed an experiment to prove semi-conservative nature of replication. Here they cultured bacterial E. coli in the medium containing of N14, that is light nitrogen, and obtained equilibrium density gradient band by using 6 molecular CsCl2. Now what is a CS? Cesium chloride. The position of this band is recorded. Now E. coli cells were then transferred to a nitrogen 15 N15 medium and allowed to replicate for several generations. At equilibrium point, density gradient band was obtained by using 6 molecular CsCl2, that is cesium chloride. The position of this band is again recorded. Further, the heavy DNA, that is N15 molecule, can be distinguished from the normal DNA by centrifugation in a 6 molecular cesium chloride density gradient. The density gradient value of 6 molecular CaCl2 and a nitrogen 15 DNA is almost the same. Therefore, at the equilibrium point, N15 DNA will form a band. In this, both the strands of DNA are labeled with a N15. Such E. coli cells were then transferred to another medium containing a N14, that is normal nitrogen, and after first generation the density gradient band obtained was N14, N15 was obtained and its position was recorded. After second generation, two density gradient bands are obtained, one at a N14, N15 position and other at N14 position. So the position of the bands after two generations clearly proved that DNA replication is a semi-conservative mode of replication. That's why I put the image in the previous slide where you saw the hybrid one N14, N15, which clearly indicates the parental one, the older one, the second, the new band which is formed, that is the daughter one. Clear? So which proves or proved by Michelson-Stone by using this experiment to confirm that DNA is a semi-conservative mode of replication. Here, just to show the image of Matthew Michelson and Franklin Stahl, they are faculty member of Harvard Mechanism of Molecular Evolution faculty, chair for CBW studies, and whereas Stahl was a faculty member of U of Oregon meiotic recombination. Here, their images, they are standing together. And here, just to show another image for understanding of N15 and N14, the E. coli, that is the how the generation of growth taking place with N14 and N15, that is heavy and light nitrogen. So when you see the semi-conservative mode of replication or method of replication, you can see one band which is red, that is N15, the other is light, that is a yellow color, N14. So you can see N14 and N15, how the semi-conservative mode of replication takes place by simple image. Just little bit more information about the scientist. Matthew Michelson, as I mentioned earlier slide as well, from Harvard University. Here Matthew Stanley Michelson, May 24, 1930, born in Colorado, US. Then nationality was American, alma mater University of Chicago, California Institute of Technology, done PhD in the year 1957. Known for this particular confirmation experiment of DNA replication, this Michelson-Stahl experiment, discovery of messenger RNA as well, also discovery of restriction enzyme, biological weapons convention, then yellow rain. Awards, quite a few you can see, a lot of achievement. Then scientific career, there's fields along with what we are seeing also in genetics, biochemistry, molecular biology. Then in case of Franklin William Stahl, born in October 8, 1929, Boston, Massachusetts, nationality US, citizenship USA, alma mater again from Harvard University, then also University of Rochester, known for Michelson-Stahl experiment. Also, like Michelson, fields of molecular biology and genetics. Institute, University of Oregon. And questions based on today's part. And as we learned in today, mainly about DNA replication, the semi-conservative method and the experimental confirmation of DNA semi-conservative replication. So three main parts which you learned today. So thank you all of you. The questions based on today's part.